Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Raman Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmiham. रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं. Hari Om everyone. Before we begin, a reminder about the link that was shared last time. Our Sevaks will share it again this time on the chat. So please go and save that link so that you can have access to the slides, the PDF of the slides that I'll be uploading as and when we complete the classes. So you'll have to save that link. If you click on that, you'll go to the folder, and in that folder, you will see all the slides. So this was a question I had asked last time. It was an offshoot of one question that came. And I'm glad all of you, many of you have reflected upon it. And I thought you all would forget that question and I can just move on with it. But I thought it would be nice to just recap few points about it. What is the essence behind questions like these? They are not merely intellectual gymnastics. Sometimes we think about it in that way. We feel like, oh my God, why such questions? So some background about why such questions are raised in Shastra. So Upanishads say that substratum of this creation is consciousness. From consciousness alone, this entire creation has come about. And it is the same consciousness which is the illuminator of my thoughts. This oneness will be pointed out by Mahavakya. Now, for the student to understand this concept thoroughly, there is a process of teaching. That process of teaching is called Adhyaropa and Apavada. Superimposition and negation. So to indicate that supreme truth, Shruti Mata, Mother Shruti, has to use a method called as superimposition, because of which our attention will be shifted from what we are familiar with to that, towards that where Shruti Mata wants us to shift our attention to, which is our own true nature, Sakshi, what we have discussed in Drigdrishya Viveka. So there is a process of Adhyaropa. Adhyaropa means a connection will be established between the substratum and the superimposed. Means if you actually ask, is there any relation between them? The answer would be no. Just like if you ask between that desert sand and mirage water, is there any kind of relationship? So in that way, these questions help us think about nature of consciousness, and they also make sure that we don't start forming another idea of consciousness. So whenever we use this example, we discussed this last time also, whenever we use an example of reflection between sun and the pot of water, it is very natural for us to start thinking about consciousness as sun, something very different and which is getting reflected somewhere. So these questions make us think and understand that purpose of Vedanta is not to say that reflection is taking place in that way. Just like there is sun somewhere and reflection is happening here. It is to help us understand what we are experiencing right now so that we can shift our attention to what is the substratum. Okay, Adhyaropa is on that substratum, different things are superimposed. And when it is taken out, so what should remain is that only the substratum on which everything was superimposed. So this method, when Adhyaropa is going on, if objections come, like for example this one, right? So Sakshi getting reflected is Adhyaropa. If you ask the sun, are you getting reflected? So the sun will say, what reflection? It is only from the standpoint of the observer that we have this phenomenon. So in the same way, from Sakshi's standpoint, there is no creation, there is no world, nothing. But from Jiva standpoint, for us to come to that understanding, there is this process of Adhyaropa. And while Adhyaropa is being done, if there are doubts, then the way to resolve that doubt is to provide an example. This is Nyaya language, but simply to understand, if you are unable to provide an example, then you cannot make that point. I'll give some example now to show that. So for example, Shruti says, from consciousness, creation has come about. Now somebody comes and puts an objection. So what is the objection? He says, okay, Shruti Mata said, from consciousness, creation came. Means material cause is also consciousness. And the sentient cause, that is also consciousness. So he says, how can material and sentient cause be the same? If you are making a clay pot, the material for that clay, material for that pot is clay. And the sentient cause for making that pot is the potter. So sentient cause is different and material cause is different. How can you say both are the same? He said such a statement is not possible. So now Shruti herself gives an example and says, you look at Urnanabhi, like a spider, material cause is also the same and the sentient cause is also the same. Means from itself alone, it is creating this web. Now second, somebody raises an objection. How can from one thing varieties come out? You said Brahman is substratum. But if, from clay pot, from clay, only clay pot can come. No other pots can come out of clay. So Shruti Mata herself gives another example. This is all from Mundaka Upanishad. She says, you look at plants. Different plants are there, but they are coming from the same earth. In the same way, from same consciousness, variety of this creation has come about. Like this, different examples are there. There is one more, but I hope the point is clear of what is happening here. During Adhyaropa, if objections come, if examples are provided, then we are able to break that kind of objection or address that kind of objection. So now what is the objection here? In this Adhyaropa, the opponent says, how can formless Sakshi have a reflection? So Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji writes in one place, Nayam asti niyamaha. There is no rule which says only entity with form needs to have reflection. So opponent says, you can't make a statement like that. Give an example. He says, yes, I will give. Then he brings example of a mirror. Now pay attention, what he's saying here. He's saying, if there is an object in front of a mirror, there is distance between the object and the mirror. right? Now that distance which is there between object and the mirror is getting reflected in the mirror also. If you step back, that distance increases. If you step further back, that same additional distance gets reflected in the mirror. We are not talking about object. We are talking about that distance, which is formless. So formless distance is getting reflected in a mirror. He says in the same way, formless Sakshi also can get reflected in Antahkarana. This is Nyaya language. More if we are familiar with it, it will help in our thinking. But we should remember the purpose. Purpose is not to get stuck with the example or logic. Purpose is to say that we should not start forming another idea of consciousness which is getting reflected here. Okay, so limitation of the example also we should understand. That is where we started this discussion, right? Question was in the last Q&A, how come if Brahman is one, we are saying we are using this reflection example? There are so many things. There is sun, there is water, and then the reflection happens there. But in the case of Brahman, it is one entity alone which is appearing as all of these. And how it appears, it is said it is inexplicable. How does Nirvikara appear as Savikara? That is the role of Maya. Okay, so I hope whenever we see these examples, we can relate back to what is the purpose of these questions and examples. So now we'll go to next shloka. This we have already discussed, so we can be quick on this shloka. These ideas we already covered in the previous ones. Sambandhino sator nasti, sambandhino sator nasti, nivrittis sahajasyatu, nivrittis sahajasyatu, karmakshayat prabodhacha, karmakshayat prabodhacha, nivartete kramadubhe, nivartete kramadubhe, sambandhino sator nasti, nivrittis sahajasyatu, karmakshayat prabodhacha, nivartete kramadubhe. Now, previous shloka spoke about different type of identifications which are there. Then the student asks, if the identification is there, does it mean that it will never go away? How will it end? So then the teacher says, I will tell you what are the ways by which these identifications are going to end. The first one was between reflection of consciousness and the medium. So Vidyaranya Swamiji says this is sahaja. Means its nivrutti also will be sahaja. Sambandhinoho satoho nivrittihi nasti. Means between this, sambandhino satoho means between what and what? Between ahankara and chitchaya. This one. The medium is called ahankara and reflection is called chitchaya. Between that, the sambandha will end when the medium goes away. Just like when the reflection is happening, when the pot is taken away with the water, the reflection that is falling there will also end. So we don't have to worry too much about it. It's an innocent tadatmya. Okay, it will keep continuing. We don't have to do anything about it. Second one is with body. So remember here, everything that we have discussed in the last class. Ahankara has tadatmya with body, not Sakshi. Sakshi has Bhrantijanya tadatmya with Ahankara, because of which it owns everything else. So Sabhas, Ahankara and body, Prarabdha Karma, that was the cause that brought this identification together. And when Prarabdha Karma ends, it is said this identification also will end. So second is Karmakshayat, it will end. Second identification. When karma, that chunk which was taken from Sanchita Karma, when that Prarabdha chunk taken out is called as prarabdha. When that prarabdha ends, it is said this identification will also end. So don't try to end it any time before. It will give its own fair share of experiences. Third one is the main one of Advaita Vedanta, where it says that this Bhranti-janya tadatmya, erroneous. So tadatmya word also we should understand. Two things taken to be one. So Sakshi and Ahankara have different natures, but both of them have been taken to be one. So that will get broken or will be known. Broken and all are compromised words. We will know what is my nature as Sakshi and what is Ahankara when knowledge takes place. So first one was Sahaja. Sambandhino sator nasti nivrittis sahajasyatu. So that is referring to first tadatmya. Karmakshayat is the second tadatmya with body. And then prabodhacha is with the third tadatmya, means clear knowledge itself will help me understand I am Sakshi and I am not Ahankara, and everything that is happening to Ahankara is different from me. Now imagine, this is such a powerful understanding that I am not illuminator of one Ahankara, I am that pure consciousness illuminating all Ahankaras. So Sukha Dukkha of either Ahankara is illumined by the same consciousness. That is what we have to meditate upon. Okay, so Karmakshayat Prabodhacha Nivartete Kramadubhe. Kramad means in the same sequence, 1, 2 and 3. Because he has not given the names of the identification. So Swamiji expects us that we can map it back and then put it together. So what is the takeaway from this? Takeaway is Ahankara will continue to appear even after knowledge. Okay, all the things that we saw before, just like that blueness in the sky continues to appear after knowing that the space or the sky doesn't have color. In the same way, Ahankara also will continue to appear. We should not insist on non-perception of Ahankara. We should make it sattvic so that it doesn't bother us. That is the second point, that sadhana, whatever we do, is to help make this Ahankara sattvic. And knowledge will just tell me, I am not Ahankara, I am Sakshi. Okay, that is this process of inquiry. Now this, when we hear, this is a Shravanam that is done. Now we will get a lot of doubts. How I am not Ahankara, how should I do Vyavahara if I am not Ahankara? All those questions will be answered. But most importantly, if we want to abide in this knowledge, we should sit down and meditate on this understanding. What we have been seeing in first 5 verses, right? Ahankara is Drushya, and if there is a Drushya, I have to be different from Ahankara. I have to be different from that Drushya, and I am Sakshi. Now I am Sakshi, nature of Sakshi also should be understood. Okay. All right. So now this question has been answered about who is going through experiences. Ahankara is the one who is going through experiences, but because of Bhranti-janya tadatmya, it has taken up, Sakshi has taken up the limitations of Ahankara. That is where the whole problem begins. Now Vidyaranya Swamiji is elaborating that second portion, who actually goes through experiences and how. So Ahankara goes through experiences, that is one understanding, but how does it go through those experiences? Now he is going to point us in the next shloka. Ahankaralaye suptau, ahankaralaye suptau, bhave dehopyachetanaha, bhave dehopyachetanaha, ahankara vikasardhaha, ahankara vikasardhaha, swapnas sarvastu jagaraha, swapnas sarvastu jagaraha, ahankaralaye suptau, भवेद् देहोऽप्यचेतनः अहंकार विकासार्धः स्वप्नः सर्वस्तु जागरः. Now Vidyaranya Swamiji is telling us how the three states of experiences come into play because of this ahankara. When ahankara is in laya avastha, okay, so we can go to the next one. So when ahankara is in laya avastha means it is unmanifest. Body also becomes, without any kind of activity. Bhaved deho api achetanaha. Achetanaha means without ability to show sentiency. Means it's not able to act, not able to walk around, because ahankara is not there. I hope this point gets more clearer now. Who has tadatmya with body? Sabhasa ahankara has identification with body. The second one that we saw, right, in the previous slide. Now, if ahankara is gone, body doesn't have this ability to reflect action. Reflect. We cannot say ahankara has become totally absent because life is still expressing, right? So it is only laya, not vichcheda. Vichcheda means this jiva has gone to the next body now. What happens at the time of death? But this one is more at the time of deep sleep, where ahankara has gone into laya avastha. But at the same time, sakshi is illumining the absence of ahankara. That is why when we wake up, we are able to own up, or this ahankara owns up, saying that I slept very well, because it is remembering its own absence. This is a different discussion, but main point is, in deep sleep, sakshi is there and ahankara is unmanifest. Then Vidyaranya Swamiji says what happens when we are in dream state. This is deep sleep. Sakshi is 0%. Now in dream, now this ahankara has become 50%. Ahankara vikasardaha swapnaha. I hope you are seeing the highlighted portion of the verse here. That is the point we are discussing now. So in dream, ahankara becomes 50%. Means at that point, it is not able to fully control all the thoughts. That is why dreams look very hazy, and it also looks inconsistent sometimes, because ahankara is not able to wield its full control over thoughts. It is just playing, the reel is just playing. There is no editing which is done. There is no sequence which is put. That is why you see everything jumbled up. But one interesting point about dream is, although Vedanta is not too much interested in understanding nature of dream, but it is said dream is a very good reflection of the state of mind. Yesterday we were seeing in the Ramayana class also that one of the devotion that Bhagwan Ramchandraji points out to Shabriji is that we should not see defects of others even in dream. And what that means is, whatever is seen in dream is something that we have paid too much attention to in waking state. If we have dwelt on things in waking state in a specific way, those things will show up in dream. So if we have dwelt on negativities or defects, in dream also they will show up. Meaning Bhagwan is just saying that we should not give too much importance to shortcomings, of others. And there was a saint who wanted to, find out what is the purity of his mind. And he told his disciples that when I'm in, not fully asleep, but not fully awake, when I'm in kind of dream state, whatever I talk, those things you write down. And this saint was such a great Mahatma that whatever he said, that became a stuti on Lord Shiva, which we know as Margabandhu Stotram. and the saint was Appaya Dikshit. It is just to show that dream state is something where ahankara is not fully able to wield the thoughts, and whatever is our inner impression, that kind of is thrown up in dream state. Main point is, for a sadhaka, it is helpful to be careful in vyavahara. Not to analyze any dream or anything, but mainly use this as a tool to purify the mind. And last one is 100%. Now ahankara has come in waking state. Sarvastu jagara. Sarvaha means it is fully awake in waking state. But what are we showing here through all these? That deep sleep, dream, and waking belongs to ahankara, not to sakshi. Because of bhrantijanya tadatmya, that erroneous mix-up which is happening, sakshi thinks that it is going through experiences. I'm not able to see myself as different from ahankara, and I start feeling I myself am going through different experiences of waking, dream, and deep sleep. So this is why it is said, understanding clearly nature of ahankara and understanding nature of sakshi, that will help us distinguish what is our true nature and who is the one who is going through these different experiences. Okay, so that is this whole part about ahankara. So the takeaway is, waking, dream, and deep sleep are states and experiences of ahankara and not of sakshi. So unique experience is not an indicator of liberation, because all experiences will belong to ahankara only. Right? Sometimes we have this idea of liberation that something should happen. Means I should have some unique experience, but whenever we use the word experience, we should understand there should be ahankara who is the experiencer. So Vedanta's way of liberation, or trying to tell us what is our true nature, is through knowledge. Telling clearly that this is nature of sakshi, this is ahankara, both are appearing together, just like deserts and mirage water. Understand the difference, own up your true nature. Okay, that is the process of teaching over here. So next shloka we can just chant. Next time we will see. Antahkarana vrittischa chitichhayaikyamagata vasanah kalpayet swapne bodhekshair vishayan bahihi antahkarana vrittischa chitichhayaikyamagata vasana kalpayet swapne bodhekshair vishayan bahihi. Now remember, we started by drawing that circle, right? And we divided it into two parts. One was called ahankara. Eka ahankritihi anya syat antahkarana rupini. Another was called as antahkarana. Now we might have forgotten about that other half. Vidyaranya Swamiji reminds us that I have not forgotten. Now I will explain what is happening with that other half. Ahankara is one portion, another is antahkarana. In this text, that is how it was divided, right? So we have seen the role of first half, and the second half is called antahkarana, which Swamiji is going to elaborate now. So this we will see in next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So we'll take a few questions. This question is regarding that Bhranti Janya Tadatmya. So the sadhaka is asking, I'm having trouble understanding Ahankara's tadatmya with Sakshi. Oh, before I go into question, I just want to remind you that our link will be shared again in the chat. So please go and save that link for accessing the slides if you want to. And I will keep uploading the slides on this Google Drive. I'm having trouble understanding Ahankara's tadatmya with Sakshi and how it plays out, like I am tall in body identification, etc. If Ahankara identifies with Sakshi, does it give rise to I am Brahman thought? Is that ignorance or is it erroneous? In lecture, it seems suddenly that the direction of identification is flipped. If so, why would Sakshi have identification with Ahankara? So this third tadatmya, what we spoke about, the Bhrantijanya tadatmya. So I am Brahman is not result of Bhranti. Means it is not an erroneous statement Ahankara is making because it has tadatmya. When there is tadatmya, two things are taken as one. They are not known as two different things. So Ahankara right now feels that itself is the reality. I am Brahman is the statement given by Upanishad. So that is Pramana Vakya. It is not Bhranti Vakya. It is Pramana Vakya. Means with error also you can make a statement, but that is not how this statement is made. I am Brahman, that is Ahankara saying after it has understood knowledge from Upanishad. And in what way does it say I am Brahman? Now you look at the example, that example will help clarify this. That snake and rope example you remember, right? On the rope there is this snake which is appearing. The rope is Sakshi, pure consciousness which is unchanging. On top of that you have this snake appearing which is Ahankara. Now if the snake has to say, I am nothing but the rope. Okay, snake is saying, I am nothing but the rope. Now how can it make that statement? First is by understanding nature of substratum. And second is by knowing that I don't have independent reality separate from substratum. So that snake can say I am rope only when it understands that it is a mere superimposition on that substratum. By keeping its own reality, it cannot make that statement. That would be an erroneous statement. Right? So snake is saying I am rope is with this clear understanding of the substratum and having known that I am a superimposition, I am an appearance in this substratum. Now you apply the same statement to Ahankara. If Ahankara says I am Brahma, it has understood that what is original, what is real is only consciousness, Brahma. And what is appearing is nothing but a superimposition. Okay, so this statement made by Ahankara is by understanding its own mithyatva, understanding its own degree of reality being different than the substratum, but both are appearing together. And this statement, I am Brahma, we cannot make on our own. If we go and sit down for meditation, let us say, suddenly we won't have this thought or understanding that I am that all-pervading consciousness. At the most, we can reach to the point, I might be that consciousness which is illumining my thoughts. But that consciousness is all-pervading. It is not limited to one body. That is given by Vedanta. Okay, so it is Pramanajanya Vakya from Upanishad. All Mahavakyas that we point out, they are with this understanding. They are meant to take us there. Okay, second question is it possible for a householder to remain abiding in this knowledge through the day in the midst of activities? One has to talk, think, plan, make decisions, etc. and it is hard to remain in the witness seat during these interactions with the outside world. If the benefit of Drigdrishya Viveka has to last beyond the seat of meditation and become a practical part of my daily life, what should I do? Good. This question, all of us go through. We feel sometimes that in the class it is all okay, but I have to live my life for remaining 23.5 hours. What about that? How can I take this knowledge? First thing over here is Vedanta's emphasis is more on Shravanam. So one thing that should be clear is that I am Sakshi even when I'm in the midst of activities. It is not only when thoughts become quiet, I am Sakshi. My access to my own true nature is there all the time. What comes and goes is the thought. Erroneous understanding would be my nature. Sakshi is something which comes and goes. I feel like in meditation I am Sakshi, but in other times I am something else. I am Ahankara. So this is something which Vedanta again and again emphasizes, that clarity of knowledge is what is the most important part. And having known that I am Sakshi, even if Ahankara world appears, it will be understood as different degree of reality. So we should not get shaken by that. Okay, that is the one side. Now more practical side of thing. This Bhagwan Shankaracharya only has said, what we are seeking now, if knowledge has become clear, what we are seeking is abidance in that knowledge. Abidance in the knowledge is related directly to our sadhana chatushtaya. Sadhana chatushtaya means our inner qualifications. How much have we prepared our mind? How much have we tuned our inner equipment? That will decide how firmly we are able to abide in this knowledge. Yeshu satseva sannishta yada bhave na siddhyati. Yeshu satsu means sadhana chatushtayeshu satsu. When sadhana chatushtaya is there, jnana nishtha is there. So what we are seeking is jnana nishtha. This question precisely points out to that point. How can I abide in this knowledge? I have understood now. So one is have clear knowledge, do sufficient mananam, think about it, make that knowledge your own, meditate upon it. Those three will go. But during the day, what will help us have this kind of conviction, that is our sadhana chatushtaya. Bhagwan Raman Maharshi Ji, in the first line of, in one of the shlokas of Saddarshanam, he says, Tasya smritihi tatra drudhaiva nishtha. Means recollecting this knowledge when I need, that itself is called jnana nishtha. Recollecting what? Everything that we have studied in Vedanta. We don't have to recollect all small details. What is, how can Sakshi have reflection? All those questions are not needed. What we need to remember is the essence of the teaching. That I am unaffected by Ahankara. This much is sufficient. Now as Ahankara, that Sattvic Ahankara will do Vyavahara in the same way as it was doing before. But at that point, it didn't know that it had another identity, absolute identity. So in that way, it will help us own up this knowledge. We cannot circumvent sadhana chatushtaya. Sadhana chatushtaya, I hope everybody is familiar with that word. Inner qualification, viveka, vairagya, shamadhi, shatka sampatti, and mumukshutvam. Okay. Okay, let me see if there are any questions here that we can take. Okay, so here there is one example that is given in addition to what we discussed before, like how we said reflection can happen even of a formless entity. Can we also say that sky is getting reflected in the lake? Is this example of formless getting reflected. Yes, you can say that. Formless sky gets reflected in water in a form. Even if Jada Vastus do not express life based on this knowledge, even they are coming from, even if Jada Vastu do not express life, based on this knowledge, even they are coming from Sakshi. When we make an idol or do Prana Pratishtha, what does that mean? True, even all inert objects, everything has come from consciousness only. And in some places or in some entities, some objects, this consciousness gets reflected. And when we do Prana Pratishtha, this is one of the symbolism. Actually, in Shodashopachara Puja, when we do Avahanam, what is that Avahanam? We are invoking that consciousness to flow through us into this Vigraha. It's the same divinity, right? And after puja, we do that apapusprashya yathasthanam pratisthapayami, means wherever it has to go back now, let it be in that same place. So it's the same idea. A sentient entity which is expressing Bhagwan, or Bhagwan who is expressing through this sentient entity, that is getting invoked in another entity, which doesn't express sentiency. But once Avahanam has been done and Prana Pratishtha has been done, it's a living, Vigraha. That is why there are, lot of rituals and more rigid, practices that are done when there is Prana Pratishtha done. Okay. So we will pause here. Other question I will take in the next session. I hope you all noted the link. Okay. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Hari Om.